All right, we're going to pick up where we left off in the last demo. And what we did before is we got to a place where we got our drop-down navigation so that we had this button and we got the image centered. But I actually want it to become orange, and I want the non-hover state to have a little white arrow. Okay, now some of you might be wondering, if you've ever done this before, why you wouldn't just have a background image here, and on hover the background image changes. Well, the reason I'm not doing that is because anytime you have a clickable anchor link on the page, you really need to have something inside of it if it's going to be like an important button or link or something like that, because you need to have a text value. And if you want it to be a picture representation, you should at least put the real picture in the HTML so that you can at least have the alternative text for screen readers. Otherwise, if you were just using background images and there was nothing here, then it wouldn't even seem like a real button. It would be sort of an odd thing with the way that this is done right here. So I have an actual picture here, and it's a little bit tricky what I want to do. Right, this picture is black, and it's black on black right now. So what I want to do is I want to make the background image of this list item, okay, of this whole list item, I want to make the background image the white arrow, and I'm going to set it so that the normal opacity of this image is actually going to be turned off. But then when you hover over it, it turns on. So in a normal state, you would see, for instance, let's show you in this example, this is one that's completed, you would see the white button, which is actually a background image, but there's actually an anchor there, so if you hover over it, it turns its opacity from 0 to 1. Okay, and then it's still a clickable link. So that's kind of what we're going to do with this. Okay, so to get started with that, we're going to I'm going to take part of this rule because this is the one that I really want to target, is this list item. Okay, the nav top UL mobile nav is a long descendant thing. You can read it. And I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to set a background property so that I have a UL. Actually, yeah, let's go ahead and do the UL, or excuse me, URL. Been so accustomed to saying UL, and we're going to have it go up a level to the images folder, and then I'm going to have it pick the up.png file, and that was my white file. And the thing is that I need it to be centered, so I'm going to say, first of all, no repeat, no dash repeat, because I don't want it repeating, and then I'm going to center it both vertically and horizontally, or horizontally and vertically, okay? And let's just start with that. And then the other thing too that I want to check is I'd like to make, you know, the background exactly the size, or the whole list item exactly the height of the actual button itself, or the actual image itself. So what I could do is I can go into my Finder and I can find that picture, and if I get information, or on Windows you could get your properties, and I can see here that it's 48 by 48. So that means that I can make the height of this list item, let's call it height 48 pixels. Okay, and let's see what that does for us. Well, yeah. Right now you're not going to see it because the other image is on top of it. So let's just wait for a second, and actually let's do another rule before we try to take a look at it. Okay, so if you look over here, what we have now is this is the anchor link. And this, oh sorry, not that one, right here. This anchor link inside of our hide nav list item, that's the one that has that little hover PNG. So that's the one where we want to monkey around with the opacity. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy this descendant rule here, and I'm going to add a at the end so that the anchor that's inside of that list item, the hide nav list item, is going to have a normal opacity of 0. Okay, but on hover, so we're going to copy this again. On hover, it's going to have an opacity of 1, meaning basically its normal state is not visible, but when you roll over it, it will be visible, okay? And of course I have to remember to go back here and put the hover at the end. Okay, otherwise that opacity change won't work. Let's save that. Let's jump over here and let's do a quick test. Refresh the page. And see here we've got the white arrow and I hover over and it turns black. Now I want this background to turn orange though. So let's go ahead and fix that. Okay, so let's put that on, would be the hide nav A. I want to put the background color here. Okay, so whenever basically it turns opaque here, you're going to see this orange color. So let's save this and jump over to the browser, hit refresh, and you see now it's orange. And you see this is the actual real IMG that's placed, whereas that white one that's there, that white arrow, is actually the background image. So we've got this, and the one thing that's still bothering me a little bit is a couple things actually. One is that these things are sitting right up against the margin on the left, so we need to have them indented a little bit. So I'm going to come over here, and let's go. I think what we need to do is we need to look for the mobile nav, and what we need to do is we need to add padding. We're going to do padding left, and let's just make it 1M. Okay. And the other thing too that I noticed that I didn't really care for is a size that I made the font for the list items in mobile nav, and I made it 1M. I think I want to go back to doing it at 0.8M. I think that's a better look. So let's hit save, and we're going to jump over to Chrome, hit refresh, and see how that looks. And you see that these things are indented a little bit off of the edge. I've got my orange arrow, but look what's happening now. This is a problem. I was anticipating this would happen, so there is a way that we can fix it though. What's happening is that, okay, right now we're seeing our perfectly centered white arrow, which is a background image, not affected by any padding because it's a background image. But then the minute we hover over that anchor, which was 0 opacity, but when we hovered it, it became complete 100% opacity. What happened is we end up seeing the actual picture that's sitting in there, and it's getting the padding effect also. So we need to fix that. And let's go back into our rule set, and we need to find our hide nav A. Because right now what we did to change this is we put on all, basically on all of the anchor links inside the mobile nav list items, we did a padding left. Well, what we want to do is we want to take it off of the one that's in hide nav. So we're going to find the hide nav A, and we're going to come down here and we're going to tell it padding left 0. Okay, and let's see if that fixed it. Let's do a refresh, and it did. Okay, so we were able to target this one with specificity and wipe that padding off. And finally, one of the things that I really wish that I had done, if I'm going to go ahead and do, is I think that this would be a lot more interesting looking if these weren't white links on the normal state. So I want to go back to make them that blue color originally I wanted to do, which means I probably need to make the opacity of this mobile nav area a little bit more opaque. So we're going to find the mobile nav links in our rule set here, and right here where it says blue from logo, but really it says white, I'm going to change this back to that blue color, and right above that somewhere it looks like right up here where it says mobile nav, we have our RGBA. I'm going to set this to be 0.9, and let's just see how that looks. Let's refresh, and I think that's a little bit more brilliant, and it kind of gives you the sense that there's going to be something a little bit more colorful happening. So you can do that however you wish. You might have liked white better, whatever colors fit your scheme. Okay, so we're really pretty much done with the interface. And now at this point, what we can do is we can go ahead and start reproducing these as templates. Okay, so let's get going on that.